Superman, Son of Kal-El, issue 13. Tom Taylor and Nicole Maines writing with Clayton Henry on the art. So a couple of things to know here about the names here. Before I get to the writer, which obviously is notable, I was really not liking the art in this book. And when I got to the credits page, however many pages in, I went, it's Clayton Henry. I knew I recognized these heads.
See, I was shocked because I think this is some of Clayton Henry's worst work.
So when Henry draws certain characters, the foreheads are massive.
Yeah.
But like Dreamer looked like Dreamer. So no big forehead.
Here's the thing. I'm used to Clayton's big foreheads at this point. Yeah. I can live with it. It's a problem I don't usually have with his art, which I really did in this, is the separation of the layers.
Yeah.
If you go like the title page, the credit one, the big full page, Dreamer's sat there. It feels like she's not in the room at all. Like it feels like she is superimposed on top of that image, and there's a lot of that in this book. It feels like there's some like just on a crib, like the physical meshing of the layers did not work.
Yeah, I don't like the heads line work. I also really don't like the shading / coloring. They've got this kind of airbrushed look to the way they shade and the facial features, and I think it looks really unnatural and weird. I think the worst panel of the entire book, and it's really sad that it's the worst panel because it's a really good moment from a story perspective, is when Dreamer tells John that Clark will come back. She's seen it. He's going to come back, and he has this like single tear kind of panel moment, and I think he looks awful. It's a shame because I think the moment of him like shedding a tear because he finds out that his dad's definitely coming back someday because he's worried that he won't. I think that's a potentially great little touchy moment. And I think that panel with him shedding the tear, his face just looks awful. So I did not like the art in this book at all. Which is a shame.
For me, like I said, this is, and Pete, you said, you saw Clayton Henry's name, and you went, it all makes sense. For me, that was a surprise because I think he's usually a lot better than this.
I mean, this might be worse than normal, but I feel like I've never really been into Clayton Henry's work.
I think Clayton Henry's a perfectly servable artist when necessary, but there are the hallmarks you do.
I've always had there's the problem with foreheads, and
that's but like usually the layouts are fine. Yeah, the layouts are fine, but like you said, maybe it's an inking, maybe it's a coloring issue. I don't know.
So the main gist of this issue is that because Jay's been, outed as
a super
by himself.
Yeah, accidentally. Last issue. There's a lot of attention, so John's like, okay, where can I take you that's safe? Oh, I'll take you to this fortress. Why not? That's a good idea. And they're surprised to find Dreamer there because no one's been able to get in. And obviously Nicole Maines, who plays Dreamer on Supergirl, or did play Dreamer, I should say, because the show's over now, co-wrote this issue, and we find out that she kind of got into the fortress by going through a dream and come out of it.
Of an animal.
Yeah, that's in the fortress.
Which led to one of my favorite moments where Jay's like, really? That doesn't think it works. You just dream through one of the animals. And Dreamer looks at him and goes, yeah, didn't you just pop out of a tentacled senator? And I just thought that was really...
I think he sums it up best. Touche.
I wonder how much Nicole Maines is contributing to this issue, because I know she's been very involved with the character in the comic, like pretty much all the appearances so far she's written.
Yeah, she did the story in the Pride special.
Yeah.
So, but
I know she's been very involved, and that's great. But I do wonder, like, is she bringing dialogue for the character here in this issue? Is that what's going? I'd just be fascinated by the process. Would your character say this or that or whatever?
Yeah, I doubt she has much input in where the story's going because it's part of her run. So I doubt like she's having too much say in where the story's ultimately setting. But I wonder if she's even worked with DC on like establishing exactly what the power set is and sort of like if they're giving her some sort of not control over it, but like some saying like what Dreamer is as a character. Then
it feels like I wouldn't be surprised in a year's time for them to be announcing like a 6-issue mini.
But either writing on her own for the first time or with a co-writer to write us. I could see it. So the main bulk of this issue is that Dreamer needs to show John like a potential future that she got in the dream, and it's this awful future where Bendix and co basically destroy the entire Justice League. And it's really funny that this is like happening in this book when we've just killed the Justice League effectively.
Yeah,
in the lead up to Dark Crisis.
Funny.
Yeah, so it kind of feels like this is a bit like we've just been there and done that. So it's a bit odd. But yeah, so we get this big fight sequence. John has to suck in all this like Joker gas that's been released in Gotham, but it's laced with kryptonite, so he ends up dying from it as well. Everyone starts dying. Bendix is laughing, shoots Batman in the head, all that stuff. And that's like a good half of the issue or so. It is devoted to this sort of dream sequence, and then he snaps back out of it, and it's like, this is what we have to stop. This is what it's going to build up to. And it's like, okay. And there's a couple of moments where John says, "Hey, I met like your descendant in the future, and here's like gauntlets that'll help channel your power so you can control it better." And it's so like, I think from a plot perspective, what it sets up is fine. I'm still enjoying the run, but I wasn't into the art. And the sad part is the ending kind of plays into the whole Jay's mum's the former president of Gamora.
Yeah.
Which is
all of our favorite plot point.
Yeah, it's basically like, don't get me wrong, it makes sense that when Bendix finds out that it's him, or even just there's a guy on the news earlier on who says, "See, this was always political. It's the son of the former president." Right. Like, I'm okay. It makes sense that the characters would react to that and use it in some way. But it did make the ending a bit of a like, okay. I guess I see why we're doing this. It makes sense, but it's calling back to my least favorite part of the run. So.
Yeah, it also called back to John's time in the Justice or in the Legion of Superheroes. I didn't want to remember that.
Oh yeah, sure.
So it was cool that he goes and pulls out the gloves that Dream Girl, so Jamer can kind of control the powers a little bit better. Which that was nice. It's a very John moment, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not terrible, but it is kind of a low point as far as the run goes. And I think part of it's obviously the art, part of it's just it playing on plot points that are our least favorite part. But I think the third element that kind of hurts it a bit is that the bulk of the issue is this overextended look at this dream sequence or possible future where the Justice League all get killed, which is a bummer for two reasons. One, it's like, okay, this is like, at least half the book is just this like, fantasy effectively that, well, I get that you want to do a warning, you could do it in a couple of pages, you don't have to actually see the whole fight sequence and like all the ins and outs of it. And two, the fact that we just had a death of a Justice League made it all feel just a little bit too familiar as well. So I think it all kind of adds up to just being a bit of a weird issue to read right now.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder what if they did the death of the Justice League, if it was, John not being able to save Metropolis instead of just the death of Justice League.
Yeah, it could just be John's death. Yeah, it didn't need to be the whole league.
Everything. It was a bit just too big, wasn't it?
If it would have made it a little bit better. But yeah.
Actually, just make it be Jay's death. Like, be Jay's death and then John's death. And it's just personal then. It's not,
Yeah.
I think it has to be slightly bigger than that for Dreamer to come and let him know. Like, to be like this, it has to be big enough that she needs to come in more. If it's just one person and it's not him.
Well, no, I'm saying it's like Jay's death and his own death. So I'm saying his own death is the reason enough to come and see him. I think.
Yeah.
Because it is Superman.
Yeah. Just the idea that Bendix can take out the Justice League. I don't know. Like,
seems very easy, doesn't it?
Yeah, for him. Like, especially that he's a Lex Luthor, wannabe at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I buy him thinking he can and wanting to, but it's another thing to say there's this possible future where he actually pulls it off,
Right. Where you need everything to go. But yeah. It was fine. I'm getting a little bit worried about Son of Kal-El because it feels like there's a lot more of these kind of issues lately where they kind of dip.
It's definitely a lot more up and down versus Nightwing, which is consistently just knocking it out of the park.
Right. Also, is anyone else a little bit bothered by Bendix using Lex's color scheme?
Yes, since the beginning. It's
really bugging me, especially now, like when he's out in the field in this issue in that dream sequence, like he's there in person in his green and purple and his bald head.
Yep.
I'm like,
yeah,
it took me a second to go, oh, that's not Lex.
We get that this is John's Lex, but you could, have it be like purple and orange, for example, just to differentiate him visually.
Even just the purple and green color scheme should be off limits because that's.
There's also
there's two characters
Joker.
I think of.
Yeah, Joker's the other one. Yeah.
That aren't. Yeah.
Which
and
I actually
the best.
I don't hate the idea that Batman and Superman's arch nemesis both have the same color scheme. There is kind of a nice symmetry to that.
I like that.
Right.
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely a lesser issue in this run, I think, for a couple of reasons, and I don't think it's because we had this co-writer. I don't think Nicole Maines did a bad job.
Yeah. No. No,
Not
because
really, not that far.
the Dreamer's voice was very consistent with what I remember from Supergirl.
Yeah.
Right. So it fit, and stuff with Jay was pretty good, but like it was that plotting of most of the issue is going to be the dream sequence retell, you know. So
yeah. So yeah, we give it a Matt.
6.5.
Connor.
I'm gonna be a little bit harsh and give it a 5. I think it's just average.
Yeah. Sadly, I think I have to go close to Connor here and go with a 5.5. Very middling. This was the first book I read, and it was kind of like it started me off in this disappointing kind of mood. I was like, oh, this wasn't that great an issue.